How much good can we do? Because when we really feel okay, we understand that now no, nobody is saved until everybody is saved. And that to me is the highest level of consciousness. On March 23rd of 2023, we were talking about this a little while ago, Paul. That was the day that the stable version of Chat GPT, probably the most popular first AI program, generative AI program, it dropped literally that day.
Yeah. I mean, that's amazing.
And to which astrologers go, yeah, that's how it works.
Yeah.
It really can be this extraordinary. This is groundbreaking. Why is it such a big deal? It's a big deal when it moves into any new sign. Aquarius is everything we're talking about here: ascension, new humanity, using technology to find, and especially AI, to find cures and to find opportunities that human brains are brilliant, but they're human.
Hello. Hey. Welcome to the Soul to Soul Conversations podcast. We're so excited to be here with our guest today, who we'll introduce in a moment. But I'm Caroline Crawford.
And I'm Paul Crawford.
And our guest today is the amazing evolutionary astrologer, Suzanne Gerber. Hi, Suzanne.
Hi, Suzanne.
Hi, Caroline and Paul. I'm so disappointed that I'm not a Crawford too.
You could always change your name.
You could adopt me.
Yeah. Oh, we've had that said a few times recently. So funny. So I'm going to give you Suzanne's background and all her amazing credentials, and then we're going to head straight into the astrology, which we are just both so fascinated about.
So interesting.
So Suzanne Gerber is a classically trained modern astrologer, mentor, energy, and Reiki healer. Her work with clients always starts with, of course, their birth chart, which is a blueprint for the unfolding of their life and a treasure map for discovering the gifts as well as their challenges that will present themselves throughout their lives. Suzanne also studied disciplines ranging from ancient shamanism, shamanic healing, to cutting-edge quantum neuroscience, and believes we have free will, but that we're also interacting with this invisible dance partner, our karma, as well as our soul's intention for this lifetime. The goal, as she sees it, is to align our human ego desires with our higher intention and clear old karmic so we can enjoy a joyful, rewarding life and do our service in the world. So welcome, Suzanne. I know also that you are also known as an evolutionary astrologer as well, which is just, sounds fantastic.
Well, and what we mean by that, Caroline, is we don't just look at a chart and the way that the moving planets in the sky activate the natal positions with the assumption that we're just only flesh and blood and that we're only going through the motions following our ego desires. The basic premise of evolutionary astrology is that we are on a much longer journey through many lifetimes. It's our soul. And so what we do is we absolutely look at marriage and partnership and money and work and health and, spiritual paths. But we also look at what is the soul intending for this lifetime? Because we can get very good clues from that. We can't necessarily tell you what your past life was, but we can look at some unresolved issues that you're here this time to really make the most of, both the gifts and also to learn and grow and evolve through the challenges. So that's what we mean when we say evolutionary.
Yeah. And I think that, the most important thing that a lot of people, I'm a medium, intuitive healer, and a lot of people often ask that question, why am I here? What is my soul's purpose? And, I think if anybody wants to delve further into that with this really the depth that Suzanne goes into, then we will put her details up later on the show for you. But she did ask me to send her my birth date, which I was like excited and apprehensive about, I have to say. And Suzanne came up with something that I had never been made aware of. So I'm going to hand it back to you.
Well, and it's such funny timing, right? Because we are recording this in between the two eclipses from the spring. Eclipses come in pairs, and we get two sets a year. And one is a new moon and one is a full moon each time. And one shortcut way to describe it is it's a full moon on steroids. So everything we think about a new moon or a full moon, revealing things, bringing things out of hiding, bringing things to completion or absolute surprises that you never were expecting. That's what comes with the full moon. That's a lunar eclipse. And then the solar eclipse, the new moon, is a time of beginnings. It's actually just between when the moon ceases to wane for the month and begins to wax and get big again. To me, it's like that micro moment in between an exhale and the next breath. It's just this little pause. And out of that pause is where new things grow. And you, Caroline, were born, and if you know astrology, you look at a chart and you go right away, oh my goodness, she was born during a lunar eclipse.
Yeah.
Just plain as day. And then I look it up in one of my reference books and I see that it was a total lunar eclipse. And that's exactly what we had a few days before this conversation we're having. So energetically, you're really in a groove. It's a very powerful time for you. You were born during a powerful time. You were born in this portal. People born during eclipses, and it's pretty rare. I mean, think about it. It's 4 days out of a whole year, right?
Yeah.
And there's a little wiggle room. You could do it a tiny bit before and a tiny bit after, as your case is. But okay, so 12 days out of a year?
I know. That's
That's
amazing.
really, really rare. And people born during eclipses just have like a little extra mojo. There's just a little extra manifesting power. For some of them, it almost can feel like a burden because they sense that they have a mission and that it's really important. Because when the nodes of the moon, and what am I talking about with the nodes of the moon? They're not planets. You can't send a probe there. There are points that we derive mathematically, and it has to do with where our moon and as it's orbiting the Earth, as it intersects the Earth's plane around the sun. It doesn't sound like a big deal. It's a huge deal. And, we talk about Venus ruling love and Jupiter being about growth and Saturn being about caution. The nodes don't rule anything. I called them karmic exclamation points because they just emphasize that whatever they are suggesting in the chart, this is karmic. This is from now, it doesn't have to be one specific lifetime. People can get very literal. And which lifetime was it? Was it when I was in Egypt or was it when it's not that. It's themes that your soul is playing out and working with. And they continue throughout your lifetimes. And it'll have to do with something that wasn't fully resolved or fully realized, opportunities that you didn't get to take advantage of, or challenges that your soul didn't feel brave enough to step up to. Well, guess what? Just like that missing, bill that you thought, oh, they didn't notice. Yeah, they did. And they tacked on a penalty and they tacked on interest. So when we don't do our soul work, we get another chance. And it's going to be just a little bit harder. So that's why we do the tough things, because it's for our own growth.
Yes, yeah.
And is that an aspect of what we're really moving into now into this more expanded state, where these previous issues or the karmic energies that we're holding is that starting to really come to the forefront for us to really start to work through?
Well, Paul, it's a great question. And there's no way that you can say everybody, right? Because there's little over 8 billion people on this planet. And we're all at different places in our evolutionary journey, right? There are people that are energy masters. There are people yogis who have incredible, I mean, really inconceivable abilities, right? They can slow their heart rate. There's people that they really can read Akashic records, and they have great, tremendous gifts. There are people that are devoted to becoming self-aware and working on their issues. And then there are people who want to manipulate other people and harm other people. We're not all in the same place. So I see it as there's always kind of a push and a pull, right? It's a yin and a yang. It's the natural duality of the universe. And so I do think that the acceleration of the people that are becoming more aware of their soul and their spiritual nature and their role in the collective. It's not just, that silly saying, whoever dies with the most toys wins. It's the opposite of that. It has nothing to do with our possessions.
No.
It's what we're becoming and how we interact in the world. How much good can we do? Because when we really feel okay, we understand that now nobody is saved until everybody is saved. And that to me is the highest level of consciousness. Not just, oh, I'm 10th level meditator. That's ego.
Yeah.
That's ego speaking. To always be in service, like you guys are, like I try to be with my practice. That's how we raise the whole collective vibe. But at the same time, and I'm not, a doom scroller and a naysayer, but it's very hard to watch the news, read the news, even for a day or two without seeing there's a very reactionary trend moving away from equality and fairness and freedom and moving toward repression and us versus them. That's the opposite of what we're talking about. And these two poles are always going to be diametrically opposed. And so that's why it becomes more important for the people who do have a sense of, I have a role in all this. It might be very, very small, but I do have a role. It's very important. They say our lights shine the brightest in the darkness.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah.
So Suzanne, how do you see how all the astrologers are talking about all these huge, is it 5 planets that are really affecting the Earth right now in this? And how do you see that really bringing this shift in consciousness? Because for this ascension process, that's really what I think many of us are really calling out for. We need this raising of the consciousness, this huge shift, don't we?
Oh, yeah. Well, one of the biggest indicators was last November when the planet Pluto, the furthest out in our regular solar system, tiny planet, far, far away, so impactful. But he's the modern ruler of the sign of Scorpio. And we all think of Scorpio about intensity, right? And he rules Scorpio along with the traditional ruler Mars. Well, he takes 248 years to go all the way around the sun, meaning to make that same movement through your chart. And he doesn't have the most even orbit. He doesn't, like Neptune, 14 years in every sign. Jupiter, 12 to 13 months in every sign. Pluto, somewhere between 13 and 30, because his shape is like an oval. We say it's eccentric. And so at different times of the cycle, he's going to go really slowly. And he just spent the last 16 years in Capricorn. And he spent 14 years before that in, well, no, that's not what I want to say. I want to just keep it with that. But Capricorn is very traditional and very conservative, and it's the old guard. And this is my cat.
Oh, what's your cat's name?
It's Rafa.
Oh,
Rafa.
hi,
Hey,
Rafa.
Rafa.
It's funny, just sorry for interrupting, but I just saw in the background earlier, he was just walking across, and for some reason, I just thought I was looking at the camera behind us, and I thought maybe one of our cats had come in.
It is funny. I mean, mostly work on Zoom.
Yeah,
And it
well,
was some
it's
local
lovely
one.
to have him with us.
Yeah, and I'll see clients' cats and I'll go, wait a minute, is that mine or yours? I get the same when the cats look very similar. It's very confusing.
Oh, bless you.
Mhm.
So,
Well,
yeah, we were on Pluto
yeah, so
entering Aquarius.
Pluto hasn't been in Aquarius since the American Revolution,
Oh, that
250
long.
years ago. And everybody's been saying, what is this going to bring? I mean, a Pluto return, that's a big deal.
Mm.
And it moved from very, like I said, conservative, kind of reactionary Capricorn corporations and patriarchy. No offense, Paul, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Just elitism. And it finally, it'll move into a sign. And then most of these planets will, when they enter a sign, they'll retrograde out of it because it's not just Mercury that goes retrograde. We all know about Mercury retrograde. That'll, you'll lose emails, your flight will be delayed. That's annoying, but that's not a game changer, right? Unless your
Right.
flight crashes, then that's a game changer. But that's not Mercury. But Pluto first entered Aquarius on March 23rd of 2023. We were talking about this a little while ago, Paul.
Mm.
That was the day that the stable version of Chat GPT, probably the most popular first AI program, generative AI program, it dropped literally that day.
Yeah. I mean, that's amazing.
And to which astrologers go, yeah, that's how it works.
Yeah.
It really can be this extraordinary. It's not always. And then it ducked right out. It ducked right out a few months later because it retrograded and then it came back again. And guess what? It retrograded one more time. And this past November of 2024, it crossed into Aquarius, not to return to Capricorn for another 240 something years.
Yay.
So this is groundbreaking. Why is it such a big deal? It's a big deal when it moves into any new sign. Aquarius is everything we're talking about here: ascension, new humanity, using technology to find, and especially AI, to find cures and to find opportunities that human brains are brilliant, but they're human. And so to be able to couple our native intelligence and creativity with AI that can calculate things in nanoseconds,
Mm.
it's extraordinary. So astrologers and new age people, and that's just a catch-all term, have been very, very excited. We think about the positive attributes. Well, Aquarius is humanitarian. It's global community. It's high-mindedness. It's egalitarianism. It's pure democracy.
Mm.
Not anybody's brand of it, but governance by the people. I mean, that's what we need, right?
Yeah.
And so we've all been very, very excited about it. And then, without getting too specific and political, then things changed, didn't they?
They did.
They really, the same month, because it was November of 2024. And of course, I'm
Yeah.
speaking of things in America, but everything has a global interconnectedness. And then we started to see the shadow, because everything that exists in the light casts a shadow. Everything. I mean, even our favorite signs and planets, even Jupiter, our favorite planet, can be excessive,
Mm.
right? And it doesn't have limits and it can exaggerate a little bit. So there's always a shadow. Pluto in Aquarius' shadow has to do with control and manipulation, deceit, and acting like, oh, I'm doing this for your good.
Mm.
But in fact, really it being very personal power, because Pluto is about power, because it takes a lot of power to transform things, whatever it is,
Mm.
right? Even just to turn over your car engine, that requires power. So Pluto is power. It is the greatest power we know as represented by astrological symbols. So we don't know.
Yeah.
And we've got both forces at play here. But that's not the only planet that's on the move. Those nodes of the moon, which we were talking about a few minutes ago, now they change signs a lot more frequently, every 18 months. And they change signs on, and you'll love this, on 111.
Oh, wow.
And that's how I've been able to remember this for a
Yeah.
while. January 11th. Now we work with two different measurements of the nodes, but that's probably the more common one. It's what we call the true node, the actual position. And we also like 111. And they change signs from the Aries Libra polarity, and they move backward. So they went into Virgo and Pisces, which is Madam here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's your exact polarity. And
Oh.
that's a beautiful polarity. People think of Virgo as, well, you know, Caroline, and I have my moon there, fussy, picky, critical, never happy with anything. That's the shadow. What's the high side of Virgo? What's the aspirational?
Yeah.
It's sacred service, sacred healing, with no ego involved.
Mm.
There's no other sign that can touch that.
Yeah, I can
Except
really
except maybe Pisces,
Yeah.
which is so mystical. And so when you blend the best of those two signs, you get a mystical understanding and intuition and feeling and compassion, and you get to ground it in Virgo's earthy practicality. And you don't just keep it for yourself, because Virgo would never be happy with that.
No,
It's just not valuable if you can't share it and pass it along.
exactly.
I think so much has been coming up about, and we've always been tried to be of service, but it's become really even more evident that so much of what we do is about being of service, and it's about moving into the community and creating that greater community upliftment that then generates its own energy moving forward.
You're speaking astrology without realizing it, Paul,
Yeah.
because the Virgo, and especially with the Pisces polarity, that's the service and the very high mindedness. The community is Aquarius, the Pluto that just moved into Aquarius. This is the potential that these planets are bringing. And now we look at Pisces, and this is another very important shift. It's two planets that are very different from each other, Saturn and Neptune. They're not in any technical sense opposites. They don't sit 180 degrees from each other. But let's start with Saturn. I call Saturn the ambassador of 3D reality. It's the finite world, it's rules, it's regulations, it's mastery, it's things like you pay your dues and and you go through your paces and you learn and you sacrifice through discipline. Saturn creates boundaries around things. Well, Neptune is the exact opposite. Neptune is about dissolution. It dissolves ego, it dissolves boundaries. We merge into oneness with other people, with all of nature, with animals, with the divine. And they've both been in Pisces together.
Right.
Which
So
is
is this kind of encouraging us to really make that choice to what we want to kind of consciously do, to make those choices really intentional, because we have that push and pull, that polarity of energy.
well, they're both about to change signs into Aries. So Pisces is the last sign. Now, Neptune has already been there for 13 years. Saturn's been there for 2 years. But they're going to link arms and they're going to cross together about 2 months apart. Neptune moves into Aries imminently.
Right.
This, it might, by the time this airs, it might have just entered. Saturn will move into Aries on May 24th. And Aries is all about action. Let's go. Let's get it started. Let's not wait for permission. We don't need somebody. We don't need to follow anybody. No, thank you. We can do this. And it's interesting, two very different planetary energies. Now, We talked about retrogrades. They're both going to retrograde back. Saturn for in a couple months and Neptune a little longer. And then they'll both be in Pisces again for a few more months. The way I read that, Caroline, is this is a really important time to do our deep spiritual work. And it's not like we finish it. Okay, I'm done. I finished my spiritual homework. Now let's go.
Yeah.
No, but what it means is get it anchored, get it solid. Take that little baby plant, that you've had in water, let those roots come, get it in the ground, let it get firm, because, well, we live in Florida where we're gonna have storm seasons and everybody has their version of this. We want that little plant, that meditation practice, that channeling course we're taking, working with divination cards, whatever it is that we're doing, being in a spiritual group, a moon group. Let's really lock that in. Let's get that so rock solid when this next wave of changes come. We're a mighty oak. We're unshakable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it was interesting for me as well about moving into this energies, and when you mentioned earlier about Chat GPT, how that AI is really developing, expanding. And I know there's been, there's as much as there's been a lot of positive energy and media coverage on it, there is a negative element. How do you feel these energies are going to interact and bring about or assist in bringing about the further expansion of AI and other technologies?
I think Pluto in Aquarius alone is like, just once it crosses into that portal for keeps, it's just the door is wide open. It's just going, and we know that technology accelerates at a faster rate, right? Every time there's new technology, the rate of acceleration increases. What used to take, I forget what blog I was reading, but the type of development that we're seeing these days used to take about 100 years for the new systems, the new processes, the new, whatever it is, technologies, calculators, machinery. It now takes 4 years. And, by next year, it'll probably be 2 years, right? Because acceleration is accelerating. So it's really hard. It would be like, people do this all the time. What would your grandmother think of a computer or an Apple Watch, right? And of course, that seems kind of quaint. It's the equivalent with us, and we're pretty sophisticated people. We can't even imagine. Now, again, this isn't 100 years later. This is like in the 2030s. We really can't imagine what's coming because we don't have those kinds of minds. The people that are coming up with these things have minds that function like computers.
Yeah, I think it's interesting as well on a very everyday sort of thought process how when you think, I know there's been a lot of coverage of the people from the astronauts coming back to Earth and the landing on the moon and everything else, and how years and years ago when we were moving into outer space and exploring, the computers took up like a whole room. And now we have that same power that we just keep in our pockets with our mobile phones. And I think that really reiterates how those are even more every year, they're expanding more and more as to what can be done and what they're capable of. And I'm really excited about what we can move into that's really going to assist us on a linking into a spiritual unfoldment as well.
Yeah. Aho.
Yeah.
And we always need to be mindful of the shadow because it's equal, right? It's just like two sides of the coin. One is not larger than the other. So we really need to stay on guard. And yeah, it's easy to go around and see what other people are, where they're slipping up. But the work is with ourselves about taking that responsibility of always being in our integrity. And sometimes it doesn't benefit us on the earth plane, right? We say, oh, you overpaid me. No, take it back. I didn't earn that. And it's very important to be in our integrity at all times because it's very slippery slope from, oh, you overpaid me by $40 to I'm going to steal your identity and drain your entire bank account.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's it. But I had a question I really wanted to ask you on how do you see these more powerful energies that are affecting us now that are, you know, coming from these planets and the cosmos? How do you feel that maybe, or can it affect our DNA? How can that bring us, you know, to this greater divinity within ourselves?
Oh, it's a great question, Caroline. I think it has a lot to do with our intentions, right? We're all being influenced by these things, and it isn't just planetary motion, is it? It's
No.
solar flares, and
Yeah.
it's the Schumann resonance, and there's a lot of things out there that
Yeah.
are really out there, and they're very real because as above, so below, and as within, so without.
Out.
Everything reflects everything else.
Yeah.
So as life changes, as technology changes, as climate changes, as our consciousness changes, everything changes. How could our DNA be left out of that? It
Yeah.
can't be. Our DNA comes from long before our parents and our great grannies, and this comes from stardust.
Yeah.
This is what we are. And as everything is evolving, the universe is speeding up, right? We know this from astrophysics. This is real stuff. I mean, the geeky guys in the lab coats and women, you know, they are proving this. This
Yeah.
isn't just astrologers. This is astronomers and astrophysicists. And we're discovering more universes.
Yeah.
And we're starting to understand that what we think we understand is it's like kindergarten.
I know.
It's
That thing, isn't it?
minute.
The more we
It's
learn,
minute.
the less we know,
Yeah.
don't we? And it's just so true. But I think humanity has become, in these last few hundred or thousand years, has become so disconnected, haven't they? And looking outside of the self for everything, disconnected from the body, from our food, even from the, you know, nature. And I think now that this energy, do you feel, or I feel as well, is just really trying to get us back online to that, to our center, to the truth within us?
I'm not sure that the energies want us to do anything. I think they're there. It's all there.
Yeah.
For our utilization. And it's up to us. Do we have the means? Do we have the resources? Do we have the courage? Do we have the desire to do these things, to use these tools? It's like the magician card in tarot.
Yeah.
Magician has all the tools. What are they going to work with, right? And it's the same for us. We can tap into, we can, you know, go with the trends and just do what's popular because it's going to make us wealthy or powerful, or we can stand in our integrity and say that's not for me.
Yeah.
And use it. But how, when I said it's our intention, it isn't just I'm going to close my eyes and make a wish.
No.
This is what neuroscience teaches us. We train, we are reinforcing the neural pathways that have been unconsciously developed, right? Through our karma, through our childhood, through messages that we got from our parents, good, bad, and different, through our schools and communities and relationships.
Yeah.
But when we stop and say, you know, all of this has been unintentional and unconscious, and I'm not sure how much it's serving me. I think I need to do a real hard reset here and come back into alignment, into nature, to eat differently, to be awake and sleep differently. If we're all on our phones all the time, they own us, right? Because I stay very conscious of this, the likes, the pings, the noises. My phone makes no noise.
No.
If you guys call me, I would miss the call. I do not know what's incoming because I know how addictive these things are. And that's by design.
Yeah.
And so part of what we get to do to rewire our DNA is not be in thrall of something that isn't our volition.
Yeah.
And we get to choose what we allow ourselves to be exposed to, the people, the news messages, the smells. Do we want to live in a really cool city that's super polluted? Do we need to be a little more in nature?
Yeah.
Do we need to work all the time?
Mm.
These are our choices. And I think it's by these choices that we can start to regulate our own DNA,
Yeah.
what we allow to get switched on, and what we say, no, people say, oh, everyone in my family had cancer or heart disease. I'm going to get it.
No,
That's
no.
That's if you do everything they did
Yeah.
the same way. You give up your power, you smoke, you have a sedentary lifestyle, you eat certain foods. I mean, there are people that just have high cholesterol naturally, but epigenetics very clearly shows that it's the environment that we're surrounded by that's responsible for 85 to 95% of how we experience life.
Yeah.
Very little. And I used to be a health researcher, reporter, I should say. And I talked to a lot of the top scientists at the research hospitals, the medical doctors. And I one time asked them, what percentage of cancer is genetic? And they said the answers range from 15% down to 5%.
Mm.
They said, there are a few genetic mutations, it's true.
Yeah.
And we're
Yeah.
working on them.
Yeah.
But no, this has to do with not just what you eat. It's not just about being vegetarian, although I do advocate for that.
Yeah.
It's about your beliefs.
Yeah,
Do you
absolutely.
live in fear?
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
kind of what kind of biochemical response does that?
Absolutely.
We've been talking about that so much recently on recent podcasts as well. So it's a real important aspect is our thoughts, our belief systems, and shedding any that no longer are helping us to move forward.
Yeah, well, as usual, we could continue this conversation. We'll have to have you back because, is there anything before we close, Suzanne, that you think is really important or things to really be aware of or look out for it? Let's say in the next 3 to 6 months, because I don't want to go too far ahead.
Right, because we're evolving, and how the evolved us will deal with something that comes up at the end of the year is we can't predict it. But I think everything we're talking about is really, really good. It's leading me to want to say, astrology doesn't tell you what's going to happen. It doesn't tell you what something means. It offers a lot of possibilities. Right? You go into a restaurant, there's not just one dish, but then there's not infinite dishes. It's a fixed menu and, maybe 50 items. And you get to choose, but you also get to choose how you're going to do it. And so when we say what's coming, well, there are shifts, there are opportunities, there are openings. There's some challenges sometimes, but we always get to choose how we want to react to these things. And in your chart, people could say, oh, I have this horrible moon, and then Saturn is doing this terrible thing. And no, you chose that chart. Your higher self chose, incarnated at that time through those people to live life with this blueprint. It's just a blueprint. And then you get to work with it. You're here to learn and to grow and to have these experiences. We don't all have the happiest childhoods because some of us, and it sounds very insensitive when we talk about it because we don't want to not acknowledge the pain and the suffering other people have been through. But we also don't want to just say, you poor thing.
No,
absolutely not.
This is for a reason. And the people that have the greatest challenges really frequently go on to have the happiest lives, the most fulfilled, and to do the most extraordinary things.
Yeah, absolutely. So if there's anybody of our viewers, our listeners, would wish to contact you, because I know that you also offer a complimentary kind of call to discuss their interest and how you work. Do you want to just tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I know if I'm going to, it's not just the money, right? Because you can always earn more money, but the trust that I'm going to put in somebody, I'm going to talk about really personal things. I'm going to invest my hopes that somebody can help me and understand things or give me some suggestions. If I'm going to some great healer, I really appreciate having a very short conversation with them just to make sure there's alignment.
Yeah.
And so of course, I offer that to anybody who's not familiar with me, who's never seen me work or heard me give a class or talk or anything like that. And my name is Suzanne Gerber. And the way to book it is to go to ask a question, asksuzanne.com.
Well, that is very easy and clear. So, Suzanne, I can't tell you how much we've enjoyed this. I just wish we had another 3 hours, to be honest.
Of course. Well, we'll do it in real life.
Yes, yes, yes. Because we actually met, didn't we? We'll share. We actually met at a July 4th celebration, and we had a really good day that day. So let's hope we do that again this year.
Well,
And
we've met at other events, but that was
we have.
that was a real highlight. And
That
this year,
that one sticks out for some reason. But that was fun. So thank you to all our listeners for tuning in. Paul will put Suzanne's website also in the notes below. If you have any questions or any comments on how you feel the energies have been affecting you, I can say, yes, they're affecting me, and just keep that down in the comments for us. Please like and share this video. We're just so grateful and appreciative that you've joined us, and we really look forward to speaking to you and sharing with you again very soon. Is there anything else?
that would be my pleasure. And I also have a Facebook group that people can request to join. And I don't post every day, but I talk about the energies and what's happening in the sky. And the feedback I get is people really appreciate it because it's options. It's not negative. It's these are the opportunities. This is what it's really about on a deeper level. And anybody is welcome. You'll put it in the notes. It's called Soul Purpose Astrology on Facebook.
Yeah.
And I can say, Suzanne, that I've looked at that and sometimes think, that's why I've been feeling that, or that's why that's gone a bit that. And then you just feel better able to deal with what's coming up, don't you? But Suzanne, we can't thank you enough. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, your expertise, all your knowledge with us.
It's been an absolute pleasure. And
it's been my pleasure. Thank you both.
And it's kind of it's reinvigorated me. I'm going to be going and rechecking out both your Facebook and your website.
Yeah.
And I very rarely go on Facebook nowadays. But I'm going to go and look at that.
Okay.
Well, I'm flattered.
Fantastic. So again, thank you, Suzanne. Thank you to our listeners. Keep shining your light. Focus on that frequency and enjoy all this planetary activity.
It just leaves us to say
Namaste.